Hello, my name is Teresa Bukovanak. I am an atheist, I'm a leftist, and I'm the founder and executive director of POW, the Progressive Anti-Abortion Uprising. On Friday, March 25th, the day of the unborn child, Lauren Handy and I went to Washington Surgery Center to engage in anti-abortion advocacy. Upon arrival, we saw a truck labeled Curtis Bay Medical Waste Services parked outside. We approached the driver, who was about to load 2 large boxes with biohazard symbols onto his truck. We asked him if he knew what was in the boxes, and after he said no, we told him, dead babies. The driver was visibly shaken. After he confirmed the boxes were from Washington Surgery, I asked him, would you get in trouble if we took one of these boxes? And he asked, what would you do with them if you took one? Lauren said, we will give them a proper burial and a funeral. The driver thought for a second and said, okay, and gestured towards the box. Lauren immediately grabbed the box off of the dolly, and we brought it back to her apartment. In the presence of a Catholic deacon, Lauren cut open the box and the red plastic bag inside. We then proceeded to unpack the remains of 110 mostly first trimester aborted children. At the bottom of the box was a clear plastic bag with 5 more containers, one much bigger than the remaining 4. Lauren reached into the largest bucket and removed the remains of a beautiful, intact, and nearly full-term baby boy who we named Christopher X. I think I can speak for both Lauren and I when I say this was the most devastating and soul-crushing experience of our lives. Not even years of anti-abortion advocacy could have prepared us for that moment. And it's a moment that will live on for us for all of time. We continued to open the larger containers and discovered 4 more babies with a range of injuries, including a fully intact girl we named Harriet, who had one eye open, an incision in the back of her neck, her brain suctioned out, and her skull crushed. 2 other late-term babies named Angel and Holly were severely dismembered, and the final baby, Phoenix, was whole and still inside the amniotic sac. A feticide is generally used during abortion procedures after 20 weeks gestation to cause an unborn baby a heart attack, which helps prevent a live birth and the excruciating pain of total dismemberment. But in 2013, Live Action captured undercover footage of abortionist Cesare Santangelo, the sole abortionist on staff for decades at Washington Surgery, admitting that he does not use feticide. Because of this admission and the advanced gestational ages of these babies and their intact condition, the likelihood that some were born alive is undeniable. Additionally, the injuries sustained by Harriet strongly imply she was the victim of a partial birth abortion. After spending nearly 3 days searching for a private pathologist to confirm these violations of federal law, a funeral mass was held at Lauren's apartment, where all 115 babies were named. Shortly after, the 110 smaller children were taken to an undisclosed location for burial. They have since been buried. On March 29th, Lauren and I coordinated with attorneys to alert the DC Homicide Unit of the location of the 5 larger babies and request an investigation into their deaths. Arrangements were made for the babies to be picked up that evening, but police didn't arrive until the afternoon of the 30th, just hours after Lauren was taken into custody by the FBI in connection with a rescue 2 years prior. Today, I stand in solidarity with Lauren and the 8 other defendants who are facing harsh incarceration penalties under the FACE Act for simply protecting the victims of violent oppression at Santangelo's clinic. And while these heroes are being unjustly prosecuted, Santangelo continues to kill babies and exploit their parents for profit, as he has done for decades. This must end. We are demanding that the DC police conduct a full investigation into the deaths of these babies, including thorough autopsies. We demand that the U.S. Department of Justice prosecute Santangelo for violations of the Born Alive Infant Protection Act and the Partial Birth Abortion Act. And we're demanding it now. And in an effort to keep our promise to the Curtis Bay whistleblower, we demand a proper burial for the remaining 5 children post-autopsy. Pro-life Americans will not stay silent in the face of such aggressive and barbarous violence, and we will diligently work until the American abortion industrial complex is fully disarmed and dismantled. Thank you.
Next is Lauren Handy. Lauren is the Director of Activism for POW.
Hello, my name is Lauren Handy. I'm a devout Catholic who supports economic left policies in creating a culture of life. I'm also the Director of Activism for the Progressive Anti-Abortion Uprising and one of the 9 defendants indicted by the FBI on FACE charges. I made a promise, a funeral and a burial. It has been my desire since the beginning, since March 25th, and through the whole process to ensure these children's dignity were uplifted and respected. During the 5 days they were under my stewardship, the 115 victims of abortion violence were given a funeral mass for unbaptized children, and the 110 have been given a proper burial in a private cemetery by a priest. But what about the 5? Phoenix, Harriet, Christopher X, Angel, and Holly, the children who have been featured in the news so far, were so advanced in their gestational age, and the patterns of their wounds suggest violent federal crimes. We arranged for the medical examiner to pick up the children. Washington Surgery is part of a network of 21 abortion centers in the DMV area. The abortion industry, which is the overlapping interests of state and business, use fear, isolation, and violence to make profit off of people who are pregnant, families, and in particular low-income women facing crisis and unwanted pregnancies. Uplifting and showing the 5 children does not pit us against their parents. I am deeply heartbroken for these families. Their exploitation from Washington Surgery and then their children being used for profit by Curtis Bay shows how deeply flawed our communities are structured.
Thank you, Lauren. You're awesome. Next, one of the 9 defendants who were arrested by the FBI under the FACE Act is Joan Andrews Bell. Joan and I have been good friends for over 30 years and have done, I don't even know how many innumerable pro-life events together, being arrested together. She is currently the founder and director of Gloria Dei Apostolate, and she is nationally known as a living legend and hero. Joan, it's good to be with you.
I want to just take this opportunity to thank my dear friends in POW and all my dear pro-life friends everywhere for every single day doing what they can to the best of their ability by the grace of God to defend little babies, to love their moms and dads, and to love the abortionists and pray for their conversion. I got involved in direct action when I was 12, 13 years old in the civil rights movement. And this action that I do now and have done for the last nearly 50 years is in line with that, to try to stand up for truth, to honor God, and to love my country and my fellow Americans by hoping that we will convert to become a people of love and charity and defend the defenseless and the just. And I just want to mention, at Nuremberg, after World War II, there were 2 trials in which judges were tried for crimes against humanity and doctors tried for crimes against humanity. Now in this country, and the allies, Americans and other allied powers, scolded those judges and doctors who said, but it was legal, because crimes against the Jews and other individuals was illegal in Germany. In fact, to help a Jew would be a crime against the government, and you would be tried for treason. That's why if you hit a Jew in your home, you could be shot to death. You know, we don't face that much now, but maybe in the near future we will. But what our courts told, what the International Court told those German criminals was that you cannot legalize murder. And we say it to America today. America, you cannot legalize the murder of the innocent and the just. God bless you.
Jonathan Darnell is here with us, a courageous man who is also one of the 9 people who were arrested by the FBI, and he is the director of GetSeriousChurch.com. Jonathan.
Okay, hi, like I said, my name is Jonathan Darnell. Unlike some of my friends, I'm not myself a progressive, but I am vehemently anti-abortion, and I made this website, GetSeriousChurch.com, to convince Christians to fight abortion more effectively. All right, now when you do that, bad stuff can happen to you sometimes. 2 years ago, I was filming a peaceful pro-life activity at the Washington Surgery Center, all right, and then we didn't hear anything for 2 years, and then last Wednesday morning at the crack of dawn, an FBI SWAT team busted down our door, handcuffed myself and all my housemates, arrested me, and held me in custody for 9 hours. I never saw a warrant. I accept things like that. I know it's going to happen. But here's what I don't accept. As this case is going to be adjudicated, all right, you're going to hear a lot of Christian and pro-life celebrities condemning us for making waves, for taking risks. There are a lot of people in positions of power in the pro-life movement who think that the only effective way to fight abortion is to stay quiet and to not offend anyone. And they've made cowards out of the rest of us for decades. Apparently, these 109 babies are not quite human enough to dignify by doing the sort of things that you would do to save the life of a born person. That's nonsense, and I hope the events of this week begin to change that. Thank you.
Finally, we have Missy Smith. Missy is the director of Wake Up. She was my vice presidential candidate a few years back when we ran against Obama as Democrats to run ads on television of aborted children. Very effective. Before that, she ran for the U.S. House of Representatives, the shadow seat in the district. And some of you might have been around at that time and remember those ads. It was quite a firestorm that was created as Missy ran for Congress, showing aborted fetal remains on television, saying if you vote for so-and-so, you are voting for this. Missy is a dear friend and colleague and one of the most articulate and courageous women I know. Missy Smith.
Thank you, Randall. My name is Missy Smith. I'm here to talk about Dr. Santangelo, the abortionist who killed these babies. Remember that name, Dr. Santangelo, spelled S-A-N-T-A-N-G-E-L-O. The reason that the 9 pro-lifers were arrested at Santangelo's office on October 2020 was to expose him and save babies from his clutches. In November 2020, I personally retrieved a full-term baby on which Dr. Santangelo had induced an abortion. She was found in the toilet of a Maryland restaurant. I named her Philomena Grace, and we gave her a proper Catholic burial. The 115 babies found at St. Angelo's abortion mill included 110 first trimester babies, as well as 5 third trimester babies killed by St. Angelo. The corpses of these 5 babies appear to indicate a violation of federal law. Dr. Santangelo needs to be investigated immediately by the U.S. Department of Justice, who is tasked with enforcing federal law. Furthermore, we believe the D.C. Metro Police are actively involved in a cover-up of Dr. Santangelo's crimes. The bio-waste company from which we intercepted these children's bodies is Curtis Bay Energy. Remember that name, Curtis Bay Energy. Curtis Bay Energy states on their website that they burn biomedical waste to sustain the energy needs of the Baltimore area. This means tragically that they receive, transfer, and burn the corpses of aborted babies to make electricity for the households and businesses of the Baltimore area. If you live in the Baltimore area, you must know that aborted babies have been burned to keep your lights on and your house warm. We call on Curtis Bay Energy to end this barbaric practice and to confirm publicly that they have done so.
All right, now we're going to show, what is it, like 2 or 3 minutes tops? Yes. Okay, we're going to show a couple of clips, and there's two reasons for this. One is so you can see the gestational age of the baby named Christopher X, and to show that Curtis Bay was involved in transferring these bodies. We've heard that they're denying it, which is just absurd. We have the film of it. So when this is done, I will have one more comment, and then we will take questions from the floor. Go ahead. I'm so
We also want to give a disclaimer that we believe that it is the right of these victims to have their full stories told. That means having the reality of what abortion, showing the reality of what abortion did to them. Journalistic integrity requires viewing the impact of those victimized by abortion. The videos you are about to view are extremely graphic. If you have abortion-related trauma, have had an abortion, or have experienced pregnancy loss, please be advised.
Just go forward. No, just go forward.
This is real time, so when they open the boxes, you are seeing what they saw for the first time. I know that that is very hard to watch. And I cannot imagine. We have been in situations like this before where we had the remains. And I want to say something to the Christian community and to the pro-life community, because there are a good number of press people here who are from Catholic and evangelical backgrounds. Teresa and I agree on almost nothing. Literally. We'll laugh, we'll have a beer together, and we are committed to ending the killing of children. Lauren and I agree on a couple more things because we're both Catholic, but we tend to be more renegade Catholics, and her and I also don't agree on much. But the courage and the dedication of these two women is on a level that I have rarely seen. I don't impress easily, and I have been incredibly impressed by these women. And to the Orthodox, to the priest and the Levite who walk by on the other side of the road, remember the Good Samaritan. The priest and the Levite had the right theology. They were the respected pillars of the community. The Good Samaritan was the heretic, the outcast, the one the Jews would have nothing to do with. And Jesus made the Good Samaritan the hero of the story and used the Good Samaritan to rebuke the religious leaders of his day who thought that they were great and high and holy and mighty. And so I endorse what these ladies are doing, largely because not only are they saving babies' lives, but because they are living, breathing, walking rebukes to the cowardice and the treachery and the self-love of the Christian community at large and our leaders in particular, the priests and the Levites of our day. They are living, breathing, walking rebukes to cowardly Christian clergy, and I love them both. And finally, picture it's 1850, Charleston, and there's two reporters in this beautiful fair, and one of them is a reporter for a newspaper in Atlanta, and one of them is a reporter for a newspaper in Boston. And the Atlanta newspaper journalist writes about the weather and the beautiful new parasols that just arrived from France, and how the cider was so good this year and the flowers were blooming. All accurate, a very accurate depiction. And then the Boston writer discusses the 3 boats full of slaves that had just arrived and the weeping and how horrible their condition was, and watching some of the more beautiful females be sold, and discussing that they were undoubtedly going to be sold not only into slavery but sex slavery, which was also an accurate depiction. So you as journalists, and your editors in particular, have an option, have a choice to be the Atlanta journalist or the Boston journalist. But woe to you. Remember, if it was 1942 or 1943 and a German photographer or a videographer made it into Auschwitz or Dachau and took footage of what was happening in those facilities and did not show it, that photojournalist would be a collaborator with the Nazis and with the killers. And that is what has become of so much media in America today. Collaborators by hiding the truth. And it is repugnant, it is an offense against God and a treachery against these victims.